Hey, this is John Bianco. You're watching Third and Longhorn. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hook 'em.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Third and Longhorn. Today we have actually our second Texas Hall of Famer here. Yeah. And we generally have a Hall of Famer on the show, always, but today we're going to have our first guest Hall of Famer. And so today we have Mr. John Bianco. John, welcome.
Thank you.
And here's the part I always have to read. He is the Senior Associate AD for Communications. Did I get that correct?
Yeah, I prefer not to have a title. I'm the PR guy.
That's perfect. Well, we always start these off the same way. And how did you get to Texas? But I love this quote that Mark found, and it says it was in reference to the late Bill Little, who said, John Bianco's odyssey in the world of athletics, media relations is like following a hopscotch across America until he found a permanent home at the University of Texas at Austin. So could you take us through that path, that how you got into this whole thing and eventually how you got to Texas?
I love that quote, first of all. Do you all even know what hopscotch is?
I do. I remember. I don't know. I've heard of it. What is hopscotch?
He invented it.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'd have to start by, because you mentioned Bill's name, just all you guys know Bill really well.
Yeah.
And losing him this year was tough, but I wouldn't be where I am without that guy. So first and foremost, say that, and then how weird this is for me to be on the other side of the table with these guys.
That was our big evil plan to get you on the other side.
We're looking forward to this.
On the tables of
I just really am surprised that Kirk Bowles isn't here.
It was just set up.
But hopscotch is probably, early on it was. I mean, I went to a small Division III school where I ran track and played sports in high school. So, I thought I was going to be a professional basketball player. It didn't quite work out. But even when I was in college, I mean, most of my time was spent training till I met the guy who did the sports information job there, and got to know him, started working around the teams and stuff and learning the field and being like, this is pretty cool, but I want to do it at the level that I read about, like the pro guys and the big time schools. So when I graduated, or when I was coming to the point where I was going to have to look for a job, I sent a letter to virtually every Division I school, and I got maybe 2 or 3 back. Michigan was one that was a pleasant, hey, you seem like a really good guy, we'll keep an eye on you. and a couple of small schools. Then I went to the COSIDA convention, which is where they do a job fair, and I had a chance to meet. They do these speed dating interviews where you sit down for a minute and you're thinking like, okay, I went to Baldwin Wallace College. Are these guys going to give me 2 seconds? Mm-hmm. A couple of ones said, you made it to the last cut. Wow. And then I got one offer from a D2 school that was decent at basketball. And now that ESPN shows every game anywhere, Longwood College in Virginia, I was ready to go, pack up, sight unseen. I don't care. This is D2. That's one step up from D3. And then out of the blue, I got a call from Arkansas a week before their season started because some guy bailed on them. So headed to Fayetteville, sight unseen.
What year
never
was
been
this?
to the South.
What year was this?
Do I need to tell you?
Yeah.
1988.
Okay.
I guess that year we beat Texas, but that's where I learned of the Arkansas hate for Texas, by the way. Mm-hmm. Basically, they hated Texas more than they liked themselves. So when they beat Texas,
that sounds about right.
A celebration.
There's a lot of that.
I went to Arkansas, and I like to say that I served a 10-month sentence and got off on good behavior. So I was at Arkansas for a year working with track, which was obviously really good there, and swimming. And then the guys in the office went home at 5 o'clock, so I got to take care of the interviews after practice for football. And I was like, this is kind of cool. You can go home anytime you want. I'm dealing with some, big time players in football, and really got exposed to football and the publicity and the media that covered the Southwest Conference. So that was a really, really, really good experience. Go from there to Fresno State, basically because I made $500 a month at Arkansas. Fresno State paid $700. Like, it's a huge raise. Fresno's in California, never been to California. Then I get there and realize it's in Nevada. Because the raisin field's right next to, I tell Xavier this all the time, that you don't live in California. Fresno is in Nevada. Right. It's right next to a raisin field. They had the Raisin Bowl, the whole 9 yards. And so I got exposed to something a little bit different there. And I'm like, okay, 2 internships. I got to find a full-time job.
Yeah.
And growing up, going to a school in Ohio, Baldwin Wallace is just outside Cleveland, and grew up kind of a Cincinnati Reds fan. There was a job opening at University of Cincinnati, applied for it, basically starting back on the bottom again. But they put me up, took me to a Reds game, and I was like, I'm sold. You didn't ask us what it paid. I don't care.
Reds. Reds.
Yeah. So I went to the University of Cincinnati, had the opportunity to work with basketball and football there, and they went to the Final Four. Football was 0-12. We lost 72-0 to Penn State. That was an interesting trip. So I experienced some of the teams that come in and play us. I went to Cincinnati, was there for a couple of years. When I was at Arkansas, I'd made a trip to Austin for the Texas Relays, working with the track team, and it was like one of the ones that were circled. I had probably a handful of schools that like, this is the end game. Can I get here? Can I get here? And they had an opening in their office. Luckily enough, somebody else who was holding out for more money that was going to likely turn the job down, so they were just having some backup plans, which ended up being me. And came here to do track and swimming, got exposed to football, thought about applying for some other jobs. At this point, I'm married. My wife said, more than welcome to go to those other jobs. I'm staying in Austin.
She said, you're more than welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. Send the checks home.
Yeah. So, first few years when I thought I'd be here just a couple of years, and stuck around, and 32 football seasons later, it's been a heck of a ride. So the hopscotching happened earlier.
Yeah.
Then I planted my feet because, my dad was an educator, a school teacher, and he always told me that you can either move around a lot and be a moving target so they don't know your flaws, or stay where you're at, figure out how to make your flaws your strengths, and stay at the same place for a long time.
Wow.
I chose the latter.
Well, I'm curious, man. First of all, that's an amazing story.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, in your time, I'm assuming most of the good times were here. It sounds like 0-72 might not getting beat 72 though was probably not a great experience. But I'm thinking of like just my time with you, and like the conference championships that you've been a part of, the national titles that you've been a part of, the successful Heisman Trophy campaign that you've been a part of, and then a multitude of different memories that I'm sure that you've experienced at your time here at Texas. Like, what would you say is like your best sports memory here?
You're trying to get some people mad at me?
First of all, what you got to realize is no matter what you say, somebody's mad on you.
Yeah, I got to make sure people aren't mad from my previous stops, because I was lucky to work at the places I worked. I will never be able to repay the guys at Arkansas for giving me that opportunity. I'm not here if I don't get a Division I opportunity at Arkansas. Yeah. And the irony of it is, their star athlete on the track team I worked with just so happens to be our track coach, Edric Florial.
Wow.
So
Wow.
talking about full circle.
Man.
When that guy walks down the hall because he accepted the job and he's figuring out who's taking him to the press conference and sees me. He's like,
my God.
that was really cool.
That's
and
cool.
I mean, he's one of those guys that you knew when he was an athlete, like attention to detail, team leader, everything about him. He loved the sport. So I knew he was going to be a great coach at some point in his life if he didn't jump for the rest of his life.
Right.
And that dude in college, you should have seen it. Just look back at pictures. I mean, there's no way you would have not let that guy play tight end for you. Zero chance. He was a great world-class triple jumper.
Wow.
And in Fresno, I had the opportunities I had there. And Cincinnati was an awesome. I would have stayed at Cincinnati forever because I got kind of comfortable. It was a good family atmosphere. Had a gym right down the hallway, so we played pickup every day. And why is John always gone for 90 minutes? And that Final Four team, they came out of nowhere, basically go to the Final Four. So they were a lot of fun. And Bob Huggins, I mean, y'all have read enough about Bob Huggins. He actually was really, really fun to work with. But fast forward here, and I got to say that two things always stand out. And I'm with football guys, so I'm talking football. There's tons of all sports things that have been just amazing to work with. But from a football standpoint, number one is Ricky Williams' Heisman year.
I was just about to say that. Yep.
When you talk about the era of the Heisman, when he was going for it, that was back when you were still like it was a slow burn. You built to your opportunity to be a Heisman candidate. We had long and lots of conversations about how can I win the Heisman? Well, you're not going to win it as a freshman. You're not going to win it as a sophomore. Unfortunately, we had a losing record his junior year. Otherwise, he's probably in New York, and he was really close to being there. So it was a process, and we talked through all of it. And man, I probably learned more about PR from him and working with him. I mean, I was 30 years old. I thought I knew everything, and honestly, piss and vinegar. This guy's winning the Heisman. So when he decided to come back for his senior year, that year was stressful and intense on all levels. But I knew that I had to get his story out. It's like, hey, you can't just tell me one story. I need like 15 stories on you. And we're going to spread them out throughout the year. So just watching him every week, praying that he didn't get hurt.
Right.
He came back for a year. He gave up millions. Little did anybody know he would have come back for a sixth year if he had a chance, because he just loved playing college football. And, when that A&M game happens, he breaks Tony Dorsett's record, all the buildup. We got Tony Dorsett to come down to the game, everything about it. I mean, it was like the pinnacle. You're like, okay, you won the Heisman. You're good. And, then when he actually wins it, even though he's sitting there wringing his hands like he was nervous that he won it, I said, it's a landslide. You're good. I know the Big 12 Player of the Year was tough with Michael Bishop, but this one, I think you got.
It's in the bag.
So when he won it, I mean, sitting there, I don't know that I've ever felt better about the role you can play in helping somebody achieve their dreams.
It's just that, like you talked about,
Yeah.
it sounds like a 4-year moment.
Oh, yeah,
Like
it really was.
Built up to what was the moment that we all got a chance to see.
Yeah. And they held him back, let him play fullback a couple of years. So that got him for a senior year. But the second one's the national championship game. There will never be.
05?
Yeah, the greatest football game.
No, you wasn't talking about 09.
Yeah. Well, it was until the end of the first drive.
Bring it in.
Yeah, man.
I
09.
woke up in a cold sweat last night.
05 is the highlight.
Yeah.
09 is definitely the
low light.
how that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, building up the whole week. It's like, we got this.
Yeah.
They cannot contain us, and our defense is so good that
Felt like it.
Cole, get us a couple touchdowns and we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crushing. But the 05 game, and you
Thanks,
think
John.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to do
I
it.
don't even remember it because
Well,
I refuse to acknowledge it.
It's funny you say that, Nick, because I don't remember it that well, because as soon as it happened, I'm up in the press box, and you all know Thomas Stepp, and he's down on the field.
Yeah.
And trying to reach me to convey, what's going on or whatever, and you're in the Rose Bowl where there's no communication and the wireless is terrible. So I had to literally the whole first quarter, everybody's asking, you're trying to figure out. I'm looking at him on the sidelines, watching him walk off, and then went down to the locker room at halftime. I really, other than the turnovers that you saw, and you're like, boy, we're really putting ourselves in a hole. I didn't get re-engaged in the game until we were making the comeback.
Yeah.
Wow.
And at that point in time, you were sitting on the sidelines going, we might get this.
Yeah. It's almost a great story.
There were some highs and lows to it, but how that could happen to a guy like Cole in that setting. Then again, it goes right back to a high, though. Is there any human being that accomplished more from how he handled himself after that devastating injury? When I remember going to him and saying, hey, Lisa Salters wants to talk to you after the game. And him saying, I can't do it. What would I say? You know what to say.
Yeah.
You'll be good.
Yeah.
And he went out there, and just the message he delivered after that game was so powerful.
That's who he was for us the whole time I was there.
Yeah.
That was Colt. That was a leader.
Yeah.
So, we were here to talk about highlights.
I got you some high. I gave you both.
We should have gone with the.
You were
the good one
young.
second.
You had many more years.
yeah, that's true. But goodness gracious,
John,
Go ahead.
I'm excited to have you here, man. I don't think UT fans or UT supporters know your connection with all the players. There's really no way for them to know other than a platform like this to really convey that. Everybody knows the connection, the natural connection from player to coach, right? And a lot of times those are characters that are on the field, right? Mm-hmm. Just like myself, I always tell people that character on the field is I can't be that person off the field. It's probably not legal to do that. It's not, right?
Don't want to be that guy.
No. But John knows the real person, that other person that has to approach the media, that has to convey certain messages out there. And all of us in that realm. I just want to say thank you, first of all, for helping me through my time at UT when it comes to talking to the media, being able to have more confidence, convey the message, be able to have just trust in your ability to just put certain things out there. How do you prioritize your connection with all the players? I mean, you go from when did you get here? 99? When did you get here? I'm telling you,
92.
90, you got
92.
Sorry. I'm
You were.
I'm
I was
all
an
about
old
Mack.
man.
I'm all about Mack. Mack was 98, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. Yeah,
I was
you were
here with John
before.
Mack.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
sorry.
before him.
So yeah, again, working with all the coaches, working with all the. I can't believe I didn't. Yeah, you were before Mack. But working with all the coaches and the players. How do you prioritize that? What kind of value you put on that? Being able to have a connection off the field with players and coaches.
Yeah, that's a really good question because it's our business in general. The sports information directors, there's kind of a misconception, a misperception of what you do. Obviously, with stats, news releases, arrange interviews, all that stuff's really important. It's a grind. There's a lot of day-to-day stuff, but at the end of the day, you have to get to know. You have to be the expert of the players on the team. I remember sitting in a staff meeting with Mack when he was telling his team, I shouldn't learn anything about a player that you don't tell me as an assistant coach. And it kind of sunk in with me because I was like, okay, that's another step of a challenge because I should feel the same way. Like I should be, when you're telling me, oh yeah, you don't want to put Rod Babers in front of the camera. He can't do this. Oh no, here's, like there's guys that are shy on the team. He's got no idea that brings out the best in him, and you didn't want to do interviews. After the first day, I dragged you kicking and screaming. You're like, I'm not doing this. And it's like, no, you have to do it. The more you get some reps, and let's talk about how you can do it, how you can convey your message, and then I'm watching you do a commencement speech a couple weeks.
Wow. Congratulations.
Well done.
That had to be a proud moment for you too.
That was absolutely.
I saw the photos, but
It's arguably
Amazing.
it's one of the best commencement speeches I've seen.
Man,
I've heard. I told you that before the show. I said somebody else told me that it was amazing. Yeah.
He went Revenge of the Titans at one point. Like I'm on the edge of my seat. And you could just see him getting into it. But those are the kind of things. And watching you, Rod. I mean, when you first came around, just the energy you had, chip on your shoulder, and how you come and go on whether or not you want to do interviews with us because you're like, I might want to be a prize fighter this time, and I might say too much. I don't want to get in trouble. But you really care about football. You really care about kids. You really care about just the mark you've made in your business. And obviously, Jeremy's he's been begging for interviews from the first time I saw him.
He loves the free promotion.
I was about to say,
He loves it.
John, I think our story's a little different. John was like, leave me alone.
We don't need you
And
today.
then finally he was like, come on.
And then he broke his ankle.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But I mean, seeing you grow up from
Man.
with your brother on the team, and your brother's story too is incredible. That when you think about getting to know somebody and getting them to open up and tell their story, he went through a lot. He wasn't supposed to be playing football, and how that all worked out. And then if you want anybody to actually endorse this guy as a strength and conditioning guy, he changed my daughter's life. I took her to him to start working with. Not so much in a physical sense, just a mindset. And went from somebody who just glided along and played to the level of her teammates to one who read like the Eye of the Tiger and ended up getting a scholarship
dope.
playing
I didn't know
volleyball.
that.
I didn't know that either.
We had a really hardcore conversation in the first few weeks. He was not sure. He was like, I mean, we're trying to push her, and then it completely.
She did the work. She did the work.
Yeah. So.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, that was brilliant, DJ. Everybody wants to thank John when John's in the room because John knows where the bodies have been. John knows everybody's dirt. He knows everybody.
That is true.
And that's how I know John is a man. He's a man of integrity because there's a lot of stuff that hadn't gotten out there about guys I played with.
Never gotten out there.
I was like, well, John knows it all. He knows it all.
Yeah.
It's still not out there. He's going to the grave with him. So we thank you, John, for that because I'm a man with kids now. So some stuff I don't need out there.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
But John, you take so much pride, like you said, in kind of getting guys comfortable in that spotlight with the media. It's part of that. You knew this guy was going to be a superstar. As a freshman, we're like, well, you're going to be a superstar, brother. You got to talk to the media.
Yeah.
You got to be a star there as well. And now, how do you do with social media? Now that, first of all, I got two questions. Well, who would have been the biggest nightmare headache for you prior to social media? if social media had been around, right, prior to social media, which one the old heads like myself would be like, oh man, Rod B, I got to make sure that I'm texting that dude, get off social media tonight, whatever, put it down. And how much of your job now is to make sure guys are handling social media responsibly, which is their brand, and because they are recognizable figures, obviously on social media. People are coming at them on social media, baiting them on social media. How much of your job is now part of basically policing these guys in social media and teaching them how to conduct themselves on social media?
It's the hardest thing from a policing standpoint is that you've got to make sure they understand some things you can make the mistakes and fix, but you can't make a major mistake on social media and recover because it's
out there,
imprinted forever. So thinking before you tweet, don't do it when you're emotional, don't get in fights with fans, or most of the time the fans are of other schools that are trying to engage you in arguments. That's a big part of it, especially the more and more high profile you get. The hard thing is they've kind of established a little bit of a brand before they even get you.
Right.
So
with the NIL and everything else.
It's walking it back. And the NIL piece is huge because when you guys talk about the relationships, you've got to have that relationship with them because they're out doing things and they're around stuff and they're, they represent the school in a lot of things that before they're ready in some cases and before you really have a chance to cultivate the relationship you need to have. So it's at all gas, no brakes when it comes to getting ready for that kind of stuff.
Do you follow all the players on social media?
I follow most of them.
Most of the ones who are high alert targets?
I follow every high alert.
He got his post alerts. John got the post alerts on. I feel bad for you, man, because I just wouldn't, I don't think I would have a genuine interest in what a 20-year-old is probably posting throughout his day. I probably just don't have a genuine, but to have to keep up with it.
I bet he knows all the lingo now.
Absolutely.
Well, I know the lingo because of my kids. They remind me.
He knows all the memes and the gifs and all that stuff, right? There you go.
But it's funny. I'm thinking in my head, okay, what is officially pre-social media?
Yeah, I think 2010 to me kind of feels like a right.
No, they still
before that.
I was 07, 08.
Okay.
We had MySpace.
Yeah, we had a little bit.
I think when it's on your phone, that's when it got most dangerous.
Before the national championship.
Once Twitter probably.
Once Twitter and Instagram.
That's 2010.
To me, that's what I said. I think that's when it got dangerous. When it was on your phone, and you, like you said, emotionally, I could just, I'm upset, and I could go right to my phone and tweet it, and then it's out there forever. I think that's when it got dangerous for me.
Fair. That's
so pre-2010, who would have been the most troublesome players to have to worry about on social media? I think that I would have been okay, but I don't know. I mean, I probably would have been okay
because you would have made a mistake and said, "Okay, I'm shutting it down."
Your
mistake would have been out there. And like, okay, Rod, now we got to clean it up.
I'm thinking this through, and I think I got the answer.
Who is it?
It's a tie between Cody Johnson and Ben Wells.
I like Ben Wells.
That's the truth. That's the truth. I wouldn't have been my phone today. That's the truth.
They just called two strays.
I'm sorry. No, Ben Wells, I just wouldn't do it.
I would probably just think the DB room in general.
That's I agree with you.
DBs don't need
phones. Akina would be encouraging you to say it.
Speak with passion, baby. Speak with passion.
I can see that. I can definitely see Akina. And Akina like repost it.
Yeah, he's retweeting it.
Like repost it.
He's DMing him behind the scenes to get him to needle y'all.
But I mean, now that there's so many opportunities to go live on things.
Oh, that's right. I've been thinking about that.
I do think that most of the guys got pretty bored of that pretty quickly, and nobody has the attention span anymore to sit and watch somebody do like a live feed for
an hour. Like a locker room or something, just hanging out. Yeah, that's a good point.
What would be your advice to, let's say, a high schooler watching this, and they're saying, okay, when it comes to media, how can I, or social media, how can I conduct myself in a manner that will be pleasing, or not? You don't want to be fake. It's not that you want to be fake, but you can convey certain things through social media, and it can be a positive platform for you. So, what would you tell a young athlete using social media?
I usually tell the guys, and I've probably told you guys this over the years. It's like if you're going to you have a point, you feel strongly about something. Think about it on every level. Are you educated? Have you done your background? Can you answer 6 or 7 follow-up questions? Because if you put that out there, people are going to be curious. Hey, I feel strongly about this. how strongly do you really feel?
Yeah.
Now, if you're convicted and strong and really believe in something, let's talk about how you can convey that. But the most important thing is to find somebody who can be your balance.
Yeah.
Somebody that when you're thinking about something or you're emotional, and I tell the guys, me, Thomas, anybody in my office, we're always there. If you're thinking about something that you're like, if you're thinking about it, you probably should just not do it. I ask my wife all the time, it's like, should I tweet this? And she'll say, I'm not going to read that.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't tweet it. You haven't even read it. Of course. If you're asking me, you shouldn't tweet it.
Yeah.
So, it's think, read it 4 or 5 times. And when you're thinking about being professional, the worst thing you can do, honestly, if it's even a really good, thoughtful, thought-provoking post, if you misspell words or you don't
That's
show
true.
that you took the
Yeah.
time to, I'm serious about this. My kids used to send me texts, and now they send them in letters and jargon, and I just deal with it. In high school and middle school, I'd be like, I'm not reading that unless it's a full sentence. That's driving crazy.
Grammar
Like,
and
if you
punctuation,
care,
man. 2 important pieces of
spell it
sentences.
right. I mean, there's spell check. It's read for a reason.
Absolutely.
But that's the advice I'd give to anybody is just, one, don't tweet, you're having a bad day, you're emotional, you're mad. Don't ever get in a fight with anybody on social media, and always look and see how many followers they have before you respond. Because if they got 2 followers, you just gave them your 2,000 by
Great point. Love
engaging their argument, which is hard. You guys were players. I mean, I watched some of the smartest guys getting really stupid arguments.
John, you know my mom, and she used to tell me and my brother 2 things. Don't ever put anything in print that you don't want to read in court. And then the second thing she would say is regarding mostly emails, is that, like, if you're upset and it's more than one sentence, make it a phone call. So I just think it was just too, like, if I don't want to read this out loud in front of people that are judging me, then I probably don't want to put it on Twitter.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember when we used to do when we talked to you guys as a team, one of my things was always, y'all have dreams and aspirations of playing in the NFL. If you're posting something, just put in your head that it's Dear General Manager. Because whatever you say out there, believe me, no matter how many times you try to delete it, the NFL has a file on you.
Oh, yeah.
And then if it's not Dear General Manager, it's going to be Dear Future Employer. Because one of the first places I look when I'm interviewing people is, let me take a quick look at their social media and just see how
It tells you everything you need to know.
there's a walking interview and blueprint of you before you even get out there. So make it a positive one. And you can have strong opinions. Just make sure your opinions are based on true convictions of yours, and make sure you have strong belief in what you're saying. And you don't want to make yourself the featured character in a storyline that you're really not the featured character. You don't want to be trending for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, there you go. That's a really good way to put it.
John, you've been here for I'm just sticking with football here, because you've been all throughout the sports, the athletic department. You've been here through 5 different head coaches now?
Yeah,
In Texas?
5 coaches.
5?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I thought when I was working with Mack, I was like, oh, this is gonna.
This is great.
I'm riding it out. We're riding out. Even Mackovic was 6 years. That felt like a long time.
that's
But
wild.
yeah, 5 head coaches, and
Give me the biggest differences in your opinion from the coaches, from your perspective, from a sports media relations perspective.
it's interesting too because I learned.
Yes, they're all so
something
different
from every one of them.
Yeah, they're all so different.
John Mackovic was the first major college head coach that I'd worked directly with on a daily basis, and he's a pro style guy. I mean, very buttoned up, very deliberate in how he did things. I vividly remember when a photo shoot, I grabbed the seniors after the team photo, and it ran over 2 minutes. 2 minutes over his, photo shoot goes from 107 to 112. And honestly, it wasn't necessarily my fault that it was running over, that it was slow. It took me a couple minutes to get everybody together, and they ran over on the team photo. And he looked at me and said, if you're not in charge of it, get in charge of it. And I was like, that's a good point. This is going to be on you.
To use that one.
If you're not in charge of it, get in charge of it.
I love it.
Now,
I like
that said, the seniors who were taking the photos pushed me out of the way and were like, Coach, that's for us. don't yell at him. And I was like, wow. So
Leadership.
That's good leadership and have allies. I mean, Leonard Davis walked me off the field. When they stormed the field at Tech, Leonard put his arm around me and was like, I got you. Good. I feel good with this guy.
Yes.
But so as a Mackovic was, and he had a great line where I think I was waffling on something and who was going to be available or what media we were going to do. And he was like, why are you doing it? Well, they asked. And he was like, well, you need to, it doesn't matter who asked or how they ask. Be firm, fair, but be consistent. And your approach needs to be consistent in how you handle things. It's like you can't waver from that or it presents problems. Now, in Mack's case is a whole nother level because I've never been around somebody who knows how to manage stories, build the story, tell the story better than
Mack's different.
him.
Yep.
And I'm managing crises, highest level, take it head on. Don't shy from it. I still remember being we had some guys get in trouble at one of the Alamo Bowls, and I remember Mack going to the press conference and being up front saying they sent him home, and this is the deal. And Mike Riley asking him afterwards, why would you start your press conference with that? It was like, they're going to ask it.
Yeah.
So don't be shy. So he's just don't let things get in the way of it. In his case, it was the Coach Royal's line that he told him. Don't worry about the rat turds when there's elephant crap everywhere.
Write this stuff down.
That's my Mack Brown.
We got it on tape.
That's my Mack Brown line.
I am like school. This is wisdom right now, man.
So if I step on a rat turd, I'll tell my staff that, and I forget that they're just newer people that I haven't had that conversation with. Like, don't worry about that. It's a rat turd. So
what's he talking about?
That's the ultimate Mack Brown and Coach Royal is get to the point, cut to the chase. Charlie was great. I mean, I learned a lot working with him because he didn't let clutter. There was no clutter. It was like, let's just stay focused on our task.
Yeah.
No long conversations, no long, press conferences and meetings with the team afterwards and things. And I think he got dealt a tough hand here. I would have liked to seen if he had all the resources he need, how it would have gone out. He's an awesome human being. Yeah. I mean, players loved him.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. Behind the scenes, he was absolutely a joy to work with. Tom probably got the job a little too young. I mean, he got this place. He knew he knew what it was all about. Too many highs and lows, but obviously with him, I got to utilize a lot of the stuff that I learned from Mack and how to convey the message and how to balance things because we had as many issues popping up during that time as any, and I think he handled himself as well as he could during difficult times. And both those guys came in when Longhorn Network was at its peak. So the spotlight was shining, positive or negative. If you were struggling, everybody knew, which was as a positive. Honestly, you want somebody to cover you like that. But then moving on to Sark, that first year, you would think, oh gosh, is this the right guy for the job? And I remember thinking and having this conversation with him that I don't think when they hired him that they had any idea how right of a guy they hired. It's like this guy's been through the ups and downs. He's led programs. He's built programs. He gets working at a place of this level. He understands the magnitude that your words matter, your voice matters, and just how he carried himself after games. We have 5-game losing streak, and his messages to the team weren't things that were going to split the team apart. They were things that continued to bring the team together. And then by that first spring, you could tell that, okay, this thing's headed in the right direction. And he's incredible to work with. It's like working with a pro coach who doesn't want to be in the pros. He loves being in college and passionate about college because everything he does is about building a team.
Yeah.
Well, all that being said, and I know the answer.
I don't like all that being said. That's all
that being said.
Let's cut to the chase.
Then I'll steer away from it.
I'm kidding.
I think obviously it's one of those gigs that no day looks the same, right? Like it just depends on what's happening, what's going on in all the different places, whether it's social media, whether it's the news, et cetera. But what if you had to kind of say a typical day for you? What does that look like?
Typical day. Typical day usually starts with a plan that changes within one phone call or one news story. There's not a. It was funny because John Mackovic used to have this really cute to-do list thing on his desk, and he gave me one of them, and I tried it. Like help me put all these things, and you scratch them, and you move up and down the list, and it's just if you do that, you get locked down to your computer, and you get locked down to your office. And I'm not out talking to Rod about what was life growing. I said I'm not asking him questions, just talking to him, and he doesn't know he has a story, and he's telling me his story, and you don't even realize it. So you've got to. I tell everybody in our profession, you got to spend time away from your desk. You got to be at events that you don't think you need to be at to get to know people and stuff. But so the only time there's really structure probably is during football season when you like the Monday press conference day. No matter what happens, we're going to be there around that. Doing the coaches TV shows and getting your press release ready for that game week. Setting up meetings with the TV crews for the end of the week and. So the structure of a game week in the fall, there's some things that you just know you have to do, but typically something comes up, a call, a request. We have 11 guys drafted. I wasn't ready for the fact that every team has, as many media people, a lot of media people to cover them. And every one of them is looking for 5 minutes with your receiver coach or we're doing a feature on this guy, and which is what's going to happen with the SEC with so many new schools. So there's just that's the great thing about it. There's there's a constant ebb and flow.
Well, I can't imagine that your phone is ever silent. Like, how do you stay on top of whether it's text,
by the way, I was just about to say that. Like other than your job, I kind of feel bad now. Like other people that's left, we still call John. Like, I still call John. I'm like, what's up, John?
I was thinking about all my texts to get him on here. But I can't imagine you got 100 and some kids. Plus you got alumni, plus you got all the staff members, plus then you've got every member of the media out there. That like the amount of communication that has to happen is insanity. Yeah. Is that a huge team that you work with, or how does it work?
Well, the great thing is I got a great staff. So for all the other every sport, there's somebody who has the ultimate responsibility to that sport. So from my standpoint, I'm just giving them the tools, talking to them about how we do things, making sure our brand is consistent across all sports. And go to their events when I can to, see them at work. I'm not the guy who's going to jump in front. Oh, USA Today's here or ESPN's here. Let me lead that feature story. That do your job, and I'm going to be there to support. And the greatest thing about social media is that you can stay engaged with all the sports and make sure that people know that you're celebrating. You're proud of everything that's going on. But at the end of the day, it's about relationships and spending as much time as possible. So when I get that text. Trust me, I'm not upset. When Derrick Johnson tells his mom, don't worry, John stays up all night. You got a question about the Nagurski Award? Call him at 11. Oh, my God. Should I call now? It's like the phone's ringing at 11.
Oh, man. See, I didn't even know that.
Just timed her out.
Do you get to turn it on silent mode or something at some time? What time do you turn your phone off, John? What time?
Well, he would call me at 10, 11. I didn't, honestly, that's part of the job. And I enjoy that piece of the job. I want to be the guy that's accessible.
Even mentioning that about my mom, even today, of course, she asked about Mack Brown or how's he doing, but John's the next person. Like, how's Bianco doing? I'm like, he's doing good. I'm calling him now. I got to ask him a question. And John, he's always been good at just saying, hey, if I don't have the answer, I'll figure it out. But he wears a lot of hats. It's not. That's why I say I don't even know that title that I've never heard that title before. So I just know you do a lot of stuff when it comes to media and other stuff. So. We appreciate you. We all appreciate your.
And you'll love this. This is a great Ricky Williams story. I'm gonna get myself in all kinds of trouble.
He knows all the dirt. I'm telling you, John knows all the dirt.
Well, this is dirt. Probably dirt for me because I had a previous supervisor and I was walking through the lobby with Ricky Williams to go do an interview, and I'm like, I gotta introduce him. I guess I gotta introduce him. So I introduced him. This is my boss, so and so, and Ricky literally looks at the guy and goes, "You got a boss?" Well, yeah, no, I mean, this supervisor is like, and literally looked back at me, said, "You got a boss," and walked right by the camera. Sounds like something he would do. I know you would do it, right?
And everybody eyes like, "Am I John the boss?"
I'm not saying that in an arrogant way. It's just kind of funny. It's like,
I think we all had the same reaction.
You don't need to introduce me to anybody. I just want to call you if I need something.
Well, I'm curious. Football, or what are we in? May going into June. So football's on a little bit of a break right now. What does off time, free time, fun time? What's that look like? I know you have your beautiful daughters, your grandchildren. I'm sure your wife's taking your time as she should. But like, what's fun look like?
Yeah, I'm officially not going to be that guy that says free time.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably have learned how to manage my time a lot better over the years. That you can be accessible away from the office, so there is a little more time. But I spend time with my family. When my wife and I are best friends, so we do everything together. Love going to movies, watching series on Netflix, and
that's my jam.
And just
so you are a regular guy then, okay?
Yeah, and then you mentioned that my daughters are now grown up, out of college. My oldest daughter Haley lives in San Antonio with her 3 kids. Wow. I've accepted the fact that I'm a granddad. I used to just say she has 3 kids.
They're related to you too.
So she and her husband, we go down and visit them often. The kids come up, and they're getting to that stage. They're 7, 5, and 2, so they're getting to that stage where they got their personalities, I'm exhausted watching him raise kids.
Man, he's got a bunch of them. He's got a starting lineup.
I got tired one day watching DJ. He had him running up and down the driveway. I was like, I'm tired.
Hey, you're working about, huh?
Yeah, he was working about.
So speaking of where I like to work out, exercise when I can, and stay active. But for the most part, everything I do is fairly low key. The great thing is the older y'all get, the more activities you have that like when he's speaking as a commencement speaker, I'm going to be there.
Right.
So that piece of it's fun.
How accurate are you now, since you've been around college kids and watched them become parents, fathers, and mothers, and have their own families, and then go into their post-football careers, whether that's after Texas or after they get into playing in the NFL? How accurate are you now at predicting what their post-professional lives are going to be? You're like, oh no, that guy's going to be in media.
Were you really off on
that guy's going to be in education. I mean, can you predict this stuff? Can you predict that Bo Scaife is going to own a marijuana farm? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, that I knew it. I thought that was coming.
I journaled that one.
Yeah.
People used to ask, how come you don't keep a journal? It's like, I don't keep a journal because I really don't want to remember what I thought. But,
exactly.
It's cool though too, and especially seeing you 3 and thinking about like Mack's line in the locker room about make it bigger than this. Be a great father, be the leader of your family, and be great in your community. And I mean, you guys, honestly, I'm not saying this just to kiss up, but you epitomize what he was saying in that locker room. But that said, when you look around the locker room, there's probably a lot of guys that you're like, wow, I would have had no idea. Now, seriously, this guy's doing a commencement speech.
I know. I wouldn't have had that either.
My most nervous moment as a media relations guy.
Freshman year,
they gave him the mic at the Holiday Bowl, and I was like, I think I was running towards the stage to unplug it. He's not ready for this. He did okay.
I do not remember what I said.
He said okay.
It'll be honest, like post game, and I mean, you did sidelines for radio, so you may think you want so and so had a great game. We want it, and let's grab him. Yeah. And it's like there comes a time when you're ready, and I want you to be at your best when that time comes. Yep. You didn't do post-game interviews on the field your freshman year.
No, not at all.
You start learning, getting your feet wet, getting reps at the media. We have enough media that covers us that you can learn all that. And when the time comes, you know exactly how you want to convey your message. You're thinking about the questions you might get asked, and not so much as a hard question after a game, but it's like I need to be able to remember a play. When I punch a fumble 12 yards down the field for a 12-yard game in the recovery. I want to remember that play and how important it was and why it was important. So from that perspective, it's kind of a process that I enjoy being part of.
One player, give me one player you think is going to be working in media Right now, there's on the team.
That's so easy.
It's
We already
easy?
talked about David Benda. If David Benda doesn't work in the media, he's going to be sitting outside my door saying, "What happened? What can I do?" But he's passionate about it, and we talk about it quite often. And there's the one guy that won't be working in the media, and maybe he'll prove me wrong, is Quinn Ewers.
So Quinn is not like the spotlight doing all the interviews.
No, it's part of the job. He gets the job of being a pro quarterback, and which that's another thing that Sark is great at, that Mack was good at, making sure you obviously don't have to do interviews when we ask you or be a face of the program, but Mack's point was, this is an opportunity from you. You're going to learn from this and you're going to grow from it. And the coolest thing for me was when I'd be reading stories when you guys were at the NFL Combine and they're talking about how you killed it on the board or in the room. And our 11 guys at the Combine, their press conferences were the ones everybody was talking about.
They were awesome.
Which made me think, okay.
You're right.
And all those guys grew and learned. Christian Jones went from a guy who didn't say a whole lot to...
Oh man, he's holding court up there. He's like really.
So those are the kind of things that those are that bring the most joy. Those and guys winning national awards, watching him winning the awards he won, and that's cool. Being present for those.
Well, we've taken a ton of his time. Does anybody have one they want to get out? Because if you don't, then I'm going to steal the last one.
I'm just thinking like of your career and what you've done, and obviously the impact you made on us three and the countless of other athletes I know personally, and then have gotten a chance to not know them, but I can see them, and I've walked in that shoe. So I know kind of how you played a role in those lives as well. If there's a young person out there, a listener, somebody watching this that's thinking they want to get into the field, the sports information field, what would you suggest they do?
I think the most important thing, if you're talking about from an education standpoint and being in classes, you got to be able to write. I mean, for whatever reason, anything trickles down to the communications office to convey the message and write. So make sure you're capable of writing. You got to care. You got to be somebody who really, really likes listening, really enjoys stories. Really young people that ask me, I say, watch TV. When you watch those stories, think about them. How did that story come about? Because that's one of the things it's funny because I always hear my people asking my wife, what is it that your husband does? And I'll go straight to the nerd side of it. Oh yeah, I do stats and she tells them that just think about when you're watching the game. When Jonathan Brooks scores a touchdown and he touches his tattoo and Kirk Herbstreit's like, that tattoo is in honor of his dad and here's the story. They don't ask us. Kirk doesn't say, hey, what's Jonathan? Why does Jonathan Brooks touch his tattoo? It's like you tell that, or it's awesome. Because you get to be a huge part of these guys. You came to UT, you have dreams, you're chasing dreams. My dream is to be able to tell all of your stories, make sure everybody knows something about you, even when you don't know your story. I have a T Sweat with this big make 'em sweat chain.
That's my favorite thing.
But we were like, hey, you got to flip that thing around and tell people what's on the backside. Like his family's so important, his mom. So when the broadcasts start telling that one and people are like, hey, that was so cool. Did you know? Yeah. And everybody in our business, that's our job. There's millions of the guys that are coming in to do games. They got 100 things going on. We got to make sure that they know those stories so that they can share them on the broadcast. But that's what I tell a young person. It's like, watch a game. And you hear those cool notes and those cool stories, you get to be a part of that. You get to help tell those stories. But make sure you learn how to write. Take some PR classes, but wherever you go to college, even if you're in high school and you're thinking about it, go find the people in our business. We're open door, open arms. I love when people are interested in doing our job and being a part of it. So come in, talk to them. I mean, I love the fact that you guys, even you might have been reluctant at time to do interviews, and now you're a part of it. You're on the other side of the table. It's cool. That means, to me, it kind of means I know you learned it and you grew into it, but the fact that Rod wanted to get into the media tells me that there's something he saw when he was working around us where he's like, hey, I could do that. That seems fun. Now I'm playing in the NFL first, but get yourself exposed to the people that do your job. Because I imagine when you came to college, you'd never experienced. I mean, most of you thought we were the media until we had when we explained to you we're not the media.
Yeah.
We're not here.
No, genuinely, like, you see, because John would walk in with a little bit of an army. So some cats will start going the other direction. So, yeah.
Well, before we get out of here, I got to do this. I'm very curious to hear this. And speaking of stories, so I want to go through each of the guys on the show, and I would love to hear either your favorite memory or favorite story if you have one. Let's start with DJ. You might have already given that one.
Yeah, I think I've already given out DJ stories, but it's honestly, I'm recency biased, but my favorite story is just watching from the guy that I met when he walked in the door to the guy that gave a commencement speech, and just that was because it was important to him. And because it was important to his family, and seeing his mom there, an educator for 40 years, looking up and saying, she couldn't have imagined her son would ever be in front of a group like that doing a commencement speech. But he was fun because he was one of those guys who didn't think he had any stories, and then he'd just be talking and telling me about Friday night fights, and how his brothers toughened him up with taking him around the neighborhood to fight other kids in the garages. And I was like,
You got a Brad Pitt spike His brother making lunch money on him.
Throw that first round. Throw the first round.
And Rod was great because he's the part of the first group that turned it here. I mean, we had some pretty good years before that. Mackovic got us on the cusp. And then when Mack came here, he needed some guys that had chips on their shoulder. And this little guy comes in, talks a lot. He'd do, when we did media, he'd say, I should have said that. No, you probably shouldn't have. Here's how you can say it next time. And, really cared about how he carried himself. But then the way he carried himself on the field, he just changed the trajectory of the program. Rod and his class, there's no doubt this doesn't happen without Rod. Now, your story, actually, there's another one with him. I think I've told you this one, where I was walking by Carl Reese's office when he was a panic because you missed your plane for your visit.
Oh, yeah.
That's when I realized, okay, I know this guy's all world and everything, but he must be, Mack's yelling at Carl Reese about get him here. And there was a lot of talk about where you might end up going. And then Jeremy just constantly looking for the camera, so I knew. I knew he
Tell you, John had to beat me out with a stick.
No, the guy knows how to promote.
I'm like, John, what's
But the great thing about you and what you're doing now is, even though you didn't thump your chest with it, you were a leader on a team that was loaded at running back. That I'm trying to find my place, but the way you worked, and when you got your chance, you seized the moment, and you're the trainer you are because of how hard you worked in college.
Absolutely.
And you're everything that Mack said in that post-game speech. It's fun. It's fun watching you guys. That's the greatest thing. Social media has its flaws, but a great thing of social media is just feeling like you get to keep up with everybody, and you guys carry yourself really positively.
Well, and since they're not here, we need to hear about Alex Okafor first.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
AO.
Yeah. See, John, don't worry. I got that same reaction. Whenever anybody asks me about Oak, I'm like, AO.
Now, AO is the perfect example of the guy who had grown into, should have been the perfect spokesman for his senior year. And, towards the end of his junior year, he was a little bit reluctant to do interviews. Then his senior year, he point blank told me, I think I had Thomas Stepp trying to get him to go do something. And he said, I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to just focus on football. I'm going to be all about football. So I always joke with him that he had 12 and a half sacks and 0 interviews as a senior year when he should have been, because from your time, you elevated yourself into the role as a team spokesman. That was one of the great things about Mack. Freshman year, learning.
Wouldn't it help you out on awards or different?
Absolutely would. Yeah. But he really was like, I just want to be focused on football. And but the first guy that, when he's towards the end of his NFL career, calls me and says, how can I get into the media? And I said, there's some irony to that, Alex.
That finally came around.
I know you'll be great, man. Just seeing him now. I mean, it's like,
he's great.
Like a natural.
Yeah, he would have been great for us. And he did it very politely, as you know, Alex. The school board guy, Alex. Yeah. Always everything.
Gentleman and scholar.
All right. Lastly, Fozzy Whittaker.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, talk about another. Yeah.
Mr. Energy. Now,
I was about to say that.
Yeah, he was so positive no matter what. He was, we went through some tough times in the middle of his career. but he was always a guy that you could put out in front and help. Not what happened, but what we're going to do, how we're going to fix this. And when you think about his leadership and who he was with that team, to think he was a team MVP despite missing, a third of the season. And his senior day with the fans, I don't think even the best players have come through here. The welcome that he got when he got called out as a senior when he was hurt, and talk about stories that, hey, I've got these 7 pets. Here's their names. I don't know if I'm a big superhero guy.
Yeah, you got the alter ego.
But the one thing about him is you could be having a bad day. You see Fozzy and your spirits are lifted up, and you're just a ball of energy and fun guy to work with.
No doubt.
Well, John, this is incredible. Thank you so much for the time. We need to do a part 2 of this one, I think, sometime in the future, because these could go on for a while. So thank you so much for coming out and being on here.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Welcome.